What up, Cavs Nation? I'm your host, Ethan Sands, and I'm back with another episode of the Wine and Gold Talk podcast. Joining me today, Chris, Fedor, cleveland.com, Cavs beat reporter, and alongside him is Jimmy Watkins, cleveland.com's columnist. And today we are getting to preview basketball, guys. The first preseason game for the Cleveland Cavaliers on Tuesday, when this episode will be released, is against the Chicago Bulls. And the first order of business, who's playing? Well, to my knowledge and to what Kenny Atkinson said today, the starters will be available, but it will be on limited minutes. To me, that means everybody that's healthy is going to get a chance to shine, get a chance to showcase what they've done over the offseason, and get a chance to just showcase what they've learned when it comes to the first true summer and training camp with Kenny Atkinson. Obviously, last year, IMG Academy, still getting to learn everybody. This year, a little bit different, a little bit of tactical shifts that they're going to be using. We'll get into that a little bit later. Guys, how excited are you for this preseason game? I know it's just preseason, but basketball is back.
Not all that excited, if we're being perfectly honest with you. I mean, yes, basketball is back, and yes, it's going to be nice to take a look at some of the new faces for the Cavs, and they've got 4 of them. But, you know, it's hard even for me to get overly excited about the regular season for this team, given everything that transpired last year, given everything that this year is going to be about. In many ways, it feels like to me very similar to the 4 years of the LeBron James led teams, where it was wake me up in December, basically. Christmas Day, it felt like, was when the start of that season, and when the games actually started to matter. Matter being a relative term. So no, I've been doing this long enough that I'm not overly excited about preseason basketball. Last year was a little bit different, right? Because we were still getting to know Kenny. We were still getting to know his system. What's he going to do with the lineups? What's he going to do with the rotations? And we were looking for little morsels of information when it came to that. There's just no uncertainty when it comes with a lot of this stuff related to the Cavs. We know who's going to be the starting lineup. We know what the rotation is going to be like. We know the 10 players that are going to be in the rotation. We know what kind of offense they're going to run because they ran it last year to a historically great level, and they're just making minor tweaks to it. We know that they're going to be a switch-heavy defense, and they're probably going to mix in some zone too. So I just don't think there's as much uncertainty about this year's team beyond how great are they. Like, it's not a question of are they good, are they great? It's how great are they? And you certainly don't learn a lot of that when you're talking about early October.
Yeah, I knew the season started again when LeBron was posting cryptic stuff on social media. That's the official marker for me. I'm mostly am Team Chris on this. The preseason does not move me. We've talked about it before. You can see what teams are trying to do. Watching preseason basketball is like having homework. You have to watch it, obviously, because we want to know what's going on. But you have to watch it like super carefully, because most of what is happening out there is fluff. So you have to identify the sequences and details and moments that matter takes a keen eye. And I just pulled up the Cavs roster. I'm seeing like we're gonna see Killian Hayes, Miller Kopp. I've seen some Miller Kopp college basketball. Actually, that's a shooter for you. See some Miller Kopp out there. That's the one thing. If you want to get excited about the preseason, like Tyrese Proctor, total question mark to us all right now. You'll get to see him. You'll familiarize yourself with him. If you watch him at all at Duke, you have an idea of what's going on there. But you'll see some Tyrese Proctor. You'll see what Jalen Tyson has been working on in the gym. But it's, I don't know. You've watched preseason football. If you've watched preseason football, you kind of get it. It's basic stuff, and it's a showcase for new faces. The Cavs don't have very many new faces, so that's the long and short of it.
So on your point about Miller Kopp, so we were at Cavs Media Day. When was that? About 2 weeks ago at this point. And there was a reputable reporter standing right next to me. And then he walks by And then the reputable reporter turns to me and says, "Who the hell is that? Like, who is that guy?" So I think there are going to be moments in the first preseason game against Chicago here where the Cavs are putting out a lineup and there are fans that are tuning in either on TV, on their app, or watching it live at Rocket Arena where they're saying, "Who the hell are these guys? Wait, I don't recognize him. He wasn't part of last year's 64-win team. That's not Donovan Mitchell. That's not Evan Mobley." Because if you look back to last year in the preseason opener, none of the starters, none of the meaningful players played more than 19 minutes. And if you look around the NBA and some of these box scores, you've got guys playing 14, 15 minutes, but that's not that much in terms of an NBA game. So you got to fill up the rest of those minutes with other guys. And we're talking about, as Jimmy said, the camp invite guys, many of whom are going to be with the Cleveland Charge, not the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Another cop, 63% effective field goal percentage his senior year at Indiana. This man's a sniper. Watch out.
Yeah.
Fun covering the Cleveland Charge, Jimmy.
Good little tidbit, Jimmy. I appreciate that. That's something that not every podcast is going to have, but we've talked a lot about what the expectation is for preseason and what the tweaks are going to look like for this Cavs team come the regular season time, right? The pace, wanting to improve that, even though they were 10th in pace in the NBA last season. They were one of the best effective transition teams in the league as well. But also the defensive end, Chris, you alluded to it earlier, the potential for the switchiness and also the zone usage to be kind of more at a medium this year. We'll see what happens. Chris, Kenny Atkinson has used the word tweaks so many different times, but has not given us the in-depth analysis of what that could be. You are our inside guy. Do you have any idea outside of pace what these tweaks could be?
I think it's the style that they're going to have in half-court settings. And I think it's going to be Donovan Mitchell off the ball more. I think it's going to be Evan Mobley initiating inverted pick and rolls. I think it's going to be Evan Mobley working at the elbow. I do think the tweaks that Kenny is talking about are pretty Evan Mobley centric. And that means Donovan more off the ball. And I think you're going to see guards setting screens for Evan Mobley. You're going to see Lonzo Ball setting screens for Evan Mobley and exploring like the different facets of Lonzo's game and how can they use him more off the ball as a screener, as a catch and shoot guy. So I do think they want to play faster. I think you're going to see them try and get the ball up the floor so they can get into their offense a little bit quicker. But I think the usage is going to be more spread out. I think the touches are going to be more spread out. I think the shot attempts are going to be more spread out. Look, another thing that I think you're going to see is more involvement from DeAndre Hunter. And how that involvement comes, I think is going to be different than what we saw at the last part of the regular season and even into the playoffs when it came to DeAndre. I think there's going to be more ISO opportunities for DeAndre. I think there's going to be more post-up opportunities for DeAndre. I think there's going to be more touches for DeAndre as well. And I get the sense that Kenny wants to limit the amount of ball dominance by specific players within this offense, mainly Donovan Mitchell at the beginning of the regular season. And I get the sense that Donovan wants to limit that as well and continue to empower some of his other teammates and continue to involve some of his other teammates within the offense.
I would love to see, I'm encouraged by more DeAndre Hunter touches and more DeAndre Hunter involvement. But it seems to me that maybe this is something like a little preseason project, beginning of the season project. DeAndre Hunter ISOs, DeAndre Hunter post-ups, those are great. That's how he likes to get the ball. But it seems like we're still trying to fit that piece into the puzzle of flowy, seamless offense, right? Like your answer to less ball dominance is get Don off the ball, and you're going to get extended periods where Darius won't be around. So that's going to just give it a little bit more share for everyone to, for lack of a better word, for everyone to take part in the offense. But like the answer to the DeAndre Hunter conundrum cannot be what if we made DeAndre Hunter a ball dominant force? Or like DeAndre Hunter is bringing up. I think that's still an open question for this offense. That's something that I am genuinely interested to see how they handle it. I would, when Chris started talking about Lonzo as a screener, I don't know if this is necessarily for when Evan has the ball, because I don't know if your teams are necessarily sending two at Evan around an inverted pick and roll at this point. But Lonzo is a short roller. That gets my antennas up, right? Like the Cavs were trying that so much with Isaac Okoro because, frankly, they didn't really know what else to do with Isaac Okoro in the offense. So, like, hey, if you're screening, you're involved, and they have to account for you, right?
That's right.
But I don't think they were too keen on giving him the ball because they weren't super confident in his playmaking abilities. Lonzo Ball is an elite processor of information. He is an elite passer. Him as a short, like that makes it really, really tough for teams to send two of the ball with Darius or Donovan on the court, because now you have a legit playmaker coming off of that, and you're playing 4-on-3 on the back end of that, and that's super duper exciting to me. I like that. I don't have offhand. I don't know how much experience Lonzo has as a screener. Like, guards sometimes need to practice that. Like, the act of physically screening somebody is a talent. The act of catching them the right way and building chemistry with the guard, when to go, where to set up so that they will be able to cross your shoulder at the right angle to cross. That all needs to be worked out. But that's another like very small thing that you can see the Cavs start to play around with here in the early parts of the season, because I think Lonzo is a terrific weapon in those situations.
Yeah, Jimmy, and to your point, Kenny Atkins actually referenced that when it comes to Lonzo's screening ability, him being able to use his IQ to know where his body needs to be, where he needs to be set up for different isolations of that, whether he's going to pop or whether he's going to half roll and all these different things. It's the decision-making process that Lonzo Ball has been so coveted about when it comes to this team in particular. Like, I think the key word, and everybody that's talked about Lonzo has used, is IQ, right? His intelligence and ability to translate what he knows to where he wants the ball to be, or where he wants everybody else to be on the floor. And I think that's extremely important when it comes to the flowiness of the offense that we are talking about, and how important that is to getting DeAndre Hunter involved, how important that is to getting other people that are coming off screens involved as well, especially when we talk about potentially Lonzo Ball having a two-man game with Evan and Jared Allen, kind of the same way that Max Strus did, right? Sam Merrill has also talked about doing that as well. And obviously those two guys have different skill sets, but that kind of makes it more dangerous, right? You come off a screen and you're trying to figure out, oh, is it Lonzo or is it going to be Sam that I have to worry about? And that's something that opposing defenses have to think about the entire time, because any given person setting a screen, if done correctly, is a dangerous scheme.
Yeah, and look, I think there are going to be big-time elements from last year. The Cavs were number 1 in the NBA in points per possession on cuts. Random cuts are going to be a big part of this offense. They're always going to be a big part of the offense. How the guys in the corners are used, the fact that there's movement in the corners, that's going to be a part of this offense. Some teams, they just go stationary in the corners and they want whoever's in the corner just to stand there and wait for driving kicks. And yeah, that's going to happen from time to time, but there's a lot of movement that the Cavs have. There's a lot of cutting that the Cavs have from the corners. But I do think part of what makes this fascinating is that Jordan Ott, the assistant coach last year, is no longer here. He's the head coach of the Phoenix Suns. And he's the one who was designing the offense. It was Kenny Atkinson's offense. It was Kenny Atkinson's vision. But it was also Jordan Ott's vision. And in the first practice at training camp last year, Jordan Ott, not Kenny Atkinson, was running the offensive sets when we were taking a look. And they were going through their fist actions, and they were going through all these different things that are a big part of Kenny Atkinson's system. But Jordan Ott was the one that was running those things. It wasn't Kenny Atkinson that was running those things. And, Kenny has talked about this second go around as a head coach, delegating more, giving more responsibility to his assistants. And I got the sense that last year he was kind of like, Jordan, take the offense, design the offense, put little things into this offense that are going to make us unique, that are going to allow us to be the offense that we were during the regular season. So it's not to say that now that Jordan Ott is in Phoenix, that all of a sudden the Cavs offense is going to crumble because Kenny Atkinson doesn't know what he's doing on that side of the ball. That's not what I'm saying. I just think it's fascinating that, part of why the Cavs were as successful as they were offensively was a guy who's no longer around, and that particular position has to be replaced. And that guy who's no longer around was viewed so highly around the NBA, including by the Phoenix Suns, that he got a head coaching gig. So it's going to be slightly different, and there might be some growing pains involved with that.
I'm thinking of Jordan Ott trying to design an offense full of random cuts for Jalen Green. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. I hope they have good whiskey in Phoenix. I think Jordan Ott, clearly, given what we saw from the offense last year, is a very imaginative offensive mind. I wonder about what the Phoenix Suns will allow him to do with their personnel. Also, one more thing on the Lonzo, like random cutting, another thing that Lonzo's really good at. And between that and the short rolls, I think there's a mechanism there for the Cavs to fill in some blanks at the rim between Darius being out and Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome wasn't always getting all the way to the rim, but he could wedge his way into the paint often. And as we've been talking about for a while now, that's an open space in this second unit in particular now. How are you going to put pressure on the rim when you don't have, either one of Donovan or Darius out there and Ty Jerome's gone? That's another way you can do it. Lonzo backdoors. Lonzo also finding other players. He's got a keen eye for when guys should be cutting and that sort of thing. And the short roll, another way to put pressure on defenses at the rim for a team that might have to get creative with that at times this year.
Another thing that I sense that we're going to see more this year than certainly what we did last year in the first year with Kenny Atkinson, we're going to see more solo Mobley. We're going to see him and Donovan staggered and Mobley getting opportunities. And I think part of it is because Darius is going to miss time at the beginning of the season and Max is going to miss time at the beginning of the season. And Kenny's going to have to, I would say, reluctantly split those guys up. But it's also part of the evolution of Evan Mobley to get more of those opportunities to be the lead guy on offense during stretches throughout the course of a game or during stretches throughout the course of the season where it's not him constantly sharing the floor with Donovan Mitchell. I think that was a big part of last year, and we talked about the reasons for that. Now, as we talk about the next evolution of Evan Mobley, it's splitting them up a little bit more than what has been the case.
Since we're on the topic of screening, obviously we watched the videos and we are in person watching some practices. And something that I found interesting when watching back on some film is like Evan Mobley legitimately bringing the ball up and calling out for Jared Allen to come set a screen for him. And the big on big action is not happening at the elbow or at the free throw line, wherever else it was last year. It's above the break. And it's giving everybody space to figure out where they want to go and allowing Evan Mobley to kind of react to what the defense does in any given situation. And also in the context of what we were talking about a little bit earlier, Lonzo was setting screens for Evan Mobley, inverted pick and rolls that Kenny Atkinson was referring to, talking about the angle of the screen that he was doing well, talking about flipping the screen at a perfect time, all these different things, the nuances of some things that ordinary basketball fans or watchers or whatever don't necessarily pick up on. And I think it's going to be extremely important for what Kenny Atkinson wants to do. And obviously we've talked about it on this podcast a lot. This team doesn't want to just be reliant on the pick and roll, but necessarily not going away from it, but utilizing it in different ways, whether that's an inverted pick and roll, whether it's small on small, a big on big, a regular pick and roll. All of these different options will differentiate how the offense is going to look this season. And I think that's going to be really interesting.
I also think, guys, some of this is going to happen organically because the personnel is different. And some of the style that Larry Nance Jr. brings to this offense is different than what was available to the Cavs last year. I mean, you talk about the Jared Allen, Evan Mobley combination, guess what? There's going to be Larry Nance Jr., Evan Mobley combination too. And how that big to big game comes about is going to be different than the Jared and the Evan one. Thomas Bryant and Evan Mobley, if they play at times, probably unlikely, I would say, but maybe. Who knows? You're going to experiment. You're going to try different things. You might fall into something. But even Thomas Bryant brings a different kind of skill set if he shares the floor with somebody like Evan Mobley. Even Larry Nance Jr., if he shares the floor with somebody like Jared Allen, because the belief is from the Cavs that Nance can play without both bigs, or he can play with either one of the bigs. And then the personnel with Lonzo Ball being different too. It's just a lot of this is going to happen organically because the players that they have are more diverse and more multifaceted than what the Cavs had on this roster last year.
Also, just think of like an inverted pick and roll. Yes, the Cavs have been spamming pick and rolls a little bit too much in the past, but inverted pick and rolls put defenses in such a bind. The very basics of it. You're taking a big dude putting the ball in his hand, having a little dude scream for him, and what the heck do you do? The problem at times with the Cavs pick and rolls is that it's easier if you can switch those, then the offense stagnates, and you're asking your guys like Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland to do a little bit too much with the ball. If Evan Mobley has the ball and they switch that little dude's in hell, or they have to double. And now you've just started the Cavs machine for it. You send a second at Evan Mobley, he makes the right pass. The Cavs keep moving that ball until someone gets an open three. Or if their defense is counting on a big man to chase Evan Mobley from behind, now Evan Mobley, who let's be honest, has an agility advantage in most of those cases anyways, has a step going to the rim, and similar situation. You're asking a big man to chase him down and either foul him or give a layup, most likely, or you're asking somebody to slide over and help. And here we go again. Now you're kicking out and swing until someone gets a three or attacks a closeout. I mean, it's a different kind of element, completely different from your typical pick and roll. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with Darius or Donovan attacking an isolation mismatch either. This is just another wrinkle to what you're already doing. And Evan, from everything we're hearing, Evan, ball handling wise, sounds prepared to handle this responsibility. We'll see.
It's funny that you bring that up, Jimmy, because I remember one of my first conversations with Kenny Atkinson after he got the job. We were going over a lot of different tactics, and we were going over a lot of different X's and O's. And I'm always somebody who's going to ask questions because I want to learn and I want to see it through somebody else's lens, right? And Kenny was going on the court and he was showing me like a lot of different things in terms of spacing, in terms of pick and roll stuff, in terms of coverages and what sets work best against what coverages. And there were two people that he brought up over and over and over again that he has so much admiration for because of how they typically were being used. And the first one was Drew Holiday. And he was like, Chris, watch the Boston Celtics and watch all the different ways that Boston uses Drew. Sometimes he's a ball handler. Sometimes he's in the dunker. Sometimes he's a screen setter. Sometimes he's cutting out of the corner. And sometimes on defense, like he can be the last line of defense too. And he was talking about all those different ways that Boston at the time was using Drew Holiday. And the other one was Alex Caruso. And he was bringing up saying, hey, like if teams go zone against Oklahoma City because they don't believe in OKC as a perimeter shooting team, watch, Caruso's going to flash to the free throw line. He's going to flash to the middle so that he's kind of like the outlet against the zone. And I just think now, looking back on that and thinking back to those conversations, it's fascinating because the two players that people continue to bring up in terms of the kind of impact, nobody is exactly the same in today's NBA. But when talking about the kind of impact that Lonzo Ball can have for the Cavs, the two players that continue to get brought up by people inside this organization are Drew Holiday and Alex Caruso. And they're talking about just the different ways that Lonzo can be used both offensively and defensively. And you don't want to go overboard because obviously there are concerns that you have about Lonzo. He's not going to play back-to-backs. He's probably going to play around 20 minutes a night during the regular season. But if they can get him to the playoffs healthy and in a good place mentally and physically, the Cavs truly believe that he can be like that playoff-related X factor, the way that Caruso was for OKC and the way that Drew Holiday was, not just for Boston, but obviously when he helped the Milwaukee Bucks win a championship as well. And I think the Cavs are going to just explore. With Lonzo, they're looking at him as this chess piece, this intriguing chess piece of, hey, we don't know a lot about him. We're going to get a real opportunity to explore the depths of who Lonzo Ball is as a basketball player. And there's a ton of excitement around that. But I just think it's fascinating thinking back to those early conversations and now what people are saying about Lonzo and where Lonzo is going to be used within this offense. And it is going to be a lot of different places.
Yeah, and I think Kenny Atkinson has talked about that at length, right, when it comes to how he's going to fit into the overall team, actually, because what the quote was that Kenny Atkinson said was, I'm excited to coach any NBA player, but this is a guy I've watched for a long time, referencing Lonzo Ball. Say he's kind of the ultimate system fit, which kind of gets into exactly what you're talking about there, Chris. All of the different nuances where he can impact the game both offensively and defensively. But I think we talked a lot about Lonzo Ball over the last couple of weeks, and I want to get into the last topic for today's podcast, which Jimmy alluded to earlier with the cryptic messages from LeBron James. And I think it's so interesting to see a player a week, 2 weeks ahead of the regular season do an announcement that he is terming the second decision, where he's going to, at 12 p.m. Eastern time on October 7th, which is Tuesday, give news. And there are so many different little things that you can notice in the video that he posted, one being that the shirt is relatively similar to the one where he made the decision to go to Miami. But there's also these underlying thoughts like, could this be an ad? Because LeBron James has done that before, and it's Amazon Prime Day. I just want to get your guys' perspective on this. I'm going to start with Jimmy here, and then Chris, obviously you have the long-standing opinion of LeBron James from covering him for so many years and why he does this and how he does this. But Jimmy, get us started with your thoughts on this.
I mean, I'm trying to reserve my judgment until I see what this actually is, because the possibilities are wide. There's a wide array of what could be happening here. Yeah, I think when I saw it first, Nathan and I were at lunch today. I saw it first, and I was like, "Is he gonna retire? Like, is that was the first thing that hit my head." I was like, I drove home, and I was like, he would not invoke the decision, which is kind of like, at least from Cleveland's perspective, like the one sort of beauty mark on his Cleveland legacy is the decision. He would not invoke that for his first time. He also wouldn't retire at this point in the season. I don't think. People have realizations at different times of their lives, but he's already gone through media day. Looks like he's in pretty good shape. I'm pretty sure he's going to play this year. So again, I don't know what it's going to be. I'll say this. I think that LeBron has sort of lost touch with the Cleveland everyman a little bit. And from a certain perspective, it was impossible for him not to. Yes, he came from humble beginnings. Yes, he's earned every single thing that he's gotten. And yes, he's been a great ambassador for the city. He literally built a school in Akron. The economics of the city are way different from when he was here, when he wasn't here. Obviously, he was a great source of happiness during the finals runs. That being said, he plays a little bit too much with this relationship, I think. He's like, going back to wearing Yankee caps, leveraging his play. Part of him leveraging the franchise every offseason was leveraging not just how badly the Cavs needed him to win a championship, but how much he knew he meant to the fan base. And this is like just an ugly cousin of that, where it's like the decision is a very painful moment in a lot of Cleveland sports fans' lives. And I don't think that has ever really connected to LeBron, because to LeBron, as well as being a passion, his greatest love, basketball is a career. To LeBron, the Cleveland Cavaliers are his former employer, and to LeBron, the decision was a career change. Not even that. It was an office change within a career. To people in Cleveland, basketball can be a distraction from their hard day at work, or something special that they get to share with their. It's more than that, right? And I'm not saying it's not that to LeBron, but it is also a job. And when you have a job, every job feels like a job at some points of the day, right? Or at some points of a year. The Cleveland Cavaliers are a point of civic pride, and LeBron played a large role in that. And the decision was a betrayal to them. So to repackage it, however it's being repackaged, whether it's an ad, I really hope it's not to announce his retirement, because that would be a real slap in the face to the city. But assuming it's some sort of ad, or we saw Overtime Elite announce earlier today that like he's partnering with them, if it's anything like that, it just feels at best really unnecessary to me.
I think the thing that you bring up about the decision, well, first of all, I find it very, very hard to believe. You never say never. I find it very, very hard to believe that he would announce his retirement. Now, would he make an announcement that he's retiring at the end of a season and saying like, hey, I'm going on this retirement tour, enjoy me for one last year? Yes, I fully anticipate that to happen at some point. I fully anticipate LeBron to make it known when his final season is going to be, so that everybody can give him the big send-off that he believes that he deserves and he believes that he has earned. But for him to come out and say on October 7th, hey, I'm retiring before year 23 start. Nope. I find that hard to believe. Year 23 for him is a big deal for a lot of different reasons. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I don't know what this is. I'm not going to pretend to know what this is, but I'm with you, Jimmy. I find it hard to believe that he would attach decision or some kind of term related to that to what is his retirement tour, knowing all of the heartbreak that he caused with the decision. Now, look, I think there's part of LeBron that feels like he undid the decision by coming back to Cleveland and winning a championship and ending the championship drought. The decision was a black smudge on an otherwise sparkling resume. And he erased that smudge. In his mind, I think he believes he erased that smudge by helping Cleveland win a championship, doing it in historic fashion, and being the one to end the title drought in Cleveland. But in saying all of that, I think he's very, very aware of how the decision played. He has been very open and honest in past years about that was a bad thing for him to do, that it is one of the worst moments of his career. It is one that people are going to talk about in a negative light. And I think he has enough awareness to not drudge that back up and attach that term to what will probably be eventually a retirement tour. So I don't think it is him saying that this will be my final season in the NBA and this is my retirement tour and this is decision 2.0 or the second decision. I just find that hard to believe because I think he has more awareness than that. But LeBron loves this. LeBron loves every bit of the speculation. LeBron loves every bit of what he stirred up. Did you see the story? Lakers tickets, the price tag for Lakers tickets have gone through the roof with people anticipating that this might be his final year in the NBA. But if you think about it from LeBron's perspective, he believes that he is the guy in the NBA. And people aren't treating him as the guy in the NBA. They're not talking about him as the guy in the NBA. Hell, they're not even talking about him as the guy in Lakerland. And I think that has been a blow to LeBron. And I think it's a way to stir up something, create drama. That's what he does. Create speculation. That's what he does. He's not playing in preseason games. There was an article last week basically saying this is Luka Doncic's team. This is no longer LeBron James' team. The way that the Lakers have treated him throughout the course of the offseason has rubbed him the wrong way. And if you think about who are the teams that people are talking about most when it comes to winning a championship, when it comes to the newness of some of the rosters, the Lakers are kind of like out of sight, out of mind. LeBron, believe it or not, LeBron is kind of out of sight, out of mind. It's OKC. It's Denver. It's Anthony Edwards on the come up. It's Victor Wembanyama. Hey, look at this new Wemby. He's big and strong, and he did all this stuff throughout the course of the offseason. It's the Cleveland Cavaliers as a championship contender. His old team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, is a championship contender. So I just think like a lot of things go into this. But the one thing that I know, and I don't know what this is about, but the one thing that I know is that LeBron loves this. And he is eating this up, that people are running with speculation and the anticipation is building. And who knows? At the end of the day, it might be saying, hey, I got a new partnership with Amazon. Prime Day. Take advantage of the deals. Or, hey, I've got a new partnership with somebody else. I made the decision to have a new partnership with somebody else. I don't know who it could be.
Taco Tuesday. National Taco Day, Chris. That's what it is.
There you go. Partners with taco companies.
Whatever it is, it's going to be real cringe. There's going to be some really bad pun about the decision. I have made my decision to I'm taking my talents to Taco Bell, whatever it is. It's going to be rough. I was thinking about what Chris was saying about how LeBron is a little unsettled by the spotlight that he's not getting right now. It's getting shined elsewhere. That is a direct unintended consequence of how impressive his longevity has been. Like, you're 41, man. Eventually, they have to plan for life after you, and that usually there's usually how this has gone to this point is that okay, Jordan goes away, and then there's like a couple of years of regrouping and trying to figure out who the next guys are, and then by the time they figure it out, Jordan's gone. He's not still here, and he's not still 25, 6 and 6 every night. So in a weird way, LeBron is irked by his own greatness because he's hung around so long. And by the way, by virtue of hanging around so long, he's right to think, excuse me, are you guys seeing this? Are you guys seeing this? No one's done this at my age, particularly at my position. Sometimes you see like Kareem had some nice all-NBA years at the end of his career, but like we're from the time they're 17, we're docking points from centers because it's like, yeah, you're tall. What are we supposed to do? LeBron's particular brand of skill and athleticism, aging this well, even though yes, LeBron is also huge and strong and all that, he's nailing it a different way. Like, it's not supposed to happen. We don't really know how to process what we're seeing, but we know we need something after this. The NBA knows it needs something after this. So, and frankly, another unintended consequence of LeBron's greatness, you've done a great job ushering in the player empowerment era, but you're not the best scout. You're not the best general manager, my guy. Like the Lakers, you guys, the Lakers locked into the Luka situation. Otherwise, we're looking at another. Like, if they were running back this Anthony Davis thing again, like what would we be talking about? That would be an irrelevant Lakers team. The other thing I just want to say real quick, we're talking about LeBron's decision. Does he know how bad it was? Did he really like verbally? So I was reading the reason I asked this because I wrote something about this that is going to go up whenever this mystery ad drops tomorrow. I was reading the letter that he wrote back with Lee Jenkins, and he kind of like he was saying he tries to put himself in the shoes of Cleveland fans, basically saying like, if I was a kid who looked up, I don't know if you mentioned kids, but like if I was somebody who looked up to an athlete and that athlete, inspired me and they left, how would I feel? And then he basically said, if he would do it over again, he said some version of this a couple of different times, not in the letter, but yes, in the letter, but also in other interviews. If I could do it over again, I'd do it differently. I don't know how I would do it differently. And I'd still go to Miami, just so we're clear. But I'd do it differently. So it's like, I still think there's always been this disconnect where and by the way, not to condone people throwing batteries at his first home game. Like that was legit ugly. And that is a stain on the franchise for a different reason. A black mark on the franchise for a different reason. That's like, like City's got to wear that shame. That's not LeBron. But he's never quite understood how why the visceral reaction. Why are you burning my jersey? And it's like, I just think that there's this disconnect between athletes and fans that once you get to that place, of course, all athletes start as fans, but then I think your frame of reference blurs a little bit when you become the person who is the spotlight, the man in the arena, as Tom Brady likes to say, where it's hard to see yourself from their vantage point. And by the way, that's a two-way street. It's hard for us to understand. We'll never know what it's like to be LeBron, managing all that fame, all that success, all that pressure. But these questions or misunderstandings of why because they freaking love you, because this is more to them than you understand. This, especially in a sports town like this, man, like I don't know that will ever quite. There are still people in my life who have, even post 2016, have not forgiven LeBron because of that. And like, it has to be said, he left again. But you know who could really help bring us full circle here? LeBron's legacy in this regard? Frickin' Evan Mobley. If Evan Mobley wins the championship, then the Cavs fans don't care as much about the second exit.
Do I think LeBron understands the depth of pain that he caused to this region from the decision? Probably not. Do I think LeBron fully understands why people were so mad about the decision and how bad the decision was? No, I don't think he understands it fully to the level that maybe you, Jimmy, want him to, or fans want him to. But I think there's been an acknowledgement that it was bad, and it probably shouldn't have happened that way that it did.
All right, guys. Wanted the LeBron James takeout? You got it. And we will probably, after the Chicago Bulls game, depending on how it goes, resurface this conversation tomorrow night. But until then, we get to look forward to, or for some, maybe not,
yay, homework.
against the Chicago Bulls Tuesday night. But until then, that'll wrap up today's episode of the Wine and Gold Talk podcast. But remember to become a Cavs Insider and interact with Chris, me, and Jimmy by subscribing to Subtext. You want to send in your questions for our weekly Hey Chris episodes? This is how you do it. Sign up for a 14-day free trial or visit cleveland.com/Cavs and click on the blue bar at the top of the page. You don't like it? That's fine. All you have to do is text the word STOP. It's easy, but we can tell you that the people who signed up stick around, because this is the best way to get insider coverage on the Cavs from me, Chris, and Jimmy. This isn't just our podcast, it's your podcast, and the only way to have your voice heard is through Subtext. Y'all be safe. We out.